Now, the 2024 United States presidential election became one of the most intense and unpredictable in recent history. From Donald Trump's courtroom battles and a bullet grazing his ear to a dramatic debate that dashed incumbent President Joe Biden's hope of re-election, the campaign has been filled with unprecedented events. Kamala Harris's late entry into the race added another twist, keeping the world's attention riveted on the unfolding drama. Now, the election's intensity went far beyond American borders, making headlines worldwide. In the end, Donald Trump triumphed over Kamala Harris in a fiery contest. Trump claimed victory in all 7 key swing states, securing his place in history as the second president to win the White House for a non-consecutive term. The last time this happened was in the 1800s, when Grover Cleveland served as the 22nd and 24th president during the Civil War era. Now, the world leaders have congratulated Trump over the victory. Prime Minister Modi said he is looking forward to further strengthening India-US strategic partnership. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu termed Trump's victory history's greatest comebacks. Now, Trump's victory was marked by strong wins across more than 30 states, including pivotal battlegrounds like Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, Texas, Florida, Indiana, and Kentucky. By contrast, Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee, secured only 19 states, bringing an end to her bid for the presidency.
Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world. The people from North Carolina came to me and they said, would it be possible, at all possible, for you to speak to Elon Musk? We need Starlink. I said, what's Starlink? It's a form of communication. So I called Elon, and I'll tell you what, he had, and it was very dangerous. People would die. They had no communication. All the wires were down. I called Elon Musk. I said, Elon, you have something called Starlink. Is that right? Yes, I do. What the hell is it? He said, it's a communication system that's very good. I said, Elon, they need it really, really badly in North Carolina. Can you get it? He had that there so fast. It was incredible. So, and it was great. It saved a lot of lives. He saved a lot of lives. But he's a character. He's a special guy. He's a super genius. We have to protect our geniuses. We don't have that many of them.
And to discuss this further, I'm joined by my colleague Shreya Upadhyay here in the studio. Shreya, thank you for joining us here. Clearly, this has been a very exciting morning.
Yes.
And of course, Donald Trump has not only managed to win the US election, but he's also trumped the pollsters who were projecting maybe a narrower margin. I would like to quote Donald Trump over here where he says that this is going to be the golden age of America. America has given us an unprecedented mandate to help this country heal. Take us through what are the key factors that perhaps worked in favor of Donald Trump and which even the pollsters couldn't even see that it's going to work against and stacked up against Kamala Harris.
Yeah, Samya, at the outset, let me say this was a poll, this was an election in the United States of America, and we in India know that exit polls are something that we shouldn't be going by. Opinion polls are something that we should not be going by. So this was the election where no pollster, no observer, no poll pundit could actually predict who's going to win. And this was a neck-and-neck tie. Who knew that Donald Trump will surge right ahead of Kamala Harris and win the presidency and be all set to become the 47th president of the United States of America? Now, to talk about what must have worked for Donald Trump, Well, a lot of things. To start with, Samya, every citizen has a basic need. And they look for it in every election, which is the basic need of roti, kapda, makan. And that is what Americans also wanted for them to be, working out, which they feel that under the Kamala administration, under the Biden administration, they did not have that, considering the fact that they had been dealing with the kind of high inflation they were grappling with, the kind of cost of living crisis that they were grappling with. Every time you spoke to an American voter on ground, they would talk about the high inflation they have to deal with. When they go out to a grocery store, when they go out to a place like Costco, they do not want to spend all of their money on basic essentials, but they had to go through all of that. The other angst was, which was very, very, prevalent among the citizens of America, was the fact that they accused, in fact, the Biden and Kamala administration of using their money, the taxpayers' money, to fund wars.
Absolutely.
Remember, all through the Biden administration, we've seen the Russia-Ukraine war and the Israel-Hamas war, and Americans were very vocal in saying that you're using our money to fund those wars instead of our own development, which you can use in our healthcare system, in our education, and in improving our basic cost of living, as well as reduce inflation, the state of the economy. That were huge concerns. Come Donald Trump into the race, and he talks directly to the American voter and talks about how he's going to end the war, that if he were the president, there would have been no wars in the first place. He talks directly to them about how he's going to make America great again. Remember, in his victory speech, we heard him say, this is going to be the start of the golden era of America, something that resonates with America. There's an aspiration that we need to move on from the kind of wars that America is involved in. We need to move on from the kind of state of economy that America is witnessing, and the ripple effect of that is being, felt by the citizens. Donald Trump's words resonated with the American voter. That perhaps worked for him. But one interesting thing, Samya, is in this entire campaign has been how America has voted. How Kamala Harris thought that she can, strategize and play around identity.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to come to. Whether it's the vote that the women are concerned, whether they're white women or whether they're immigrants women or the immigrants at large.
Yeah.
Are you trying to say that they went ahead and voted largely for Donald Trump despite Kamala Harris making a peg for their rights?
Yes, absolutely. And, I have the numbers with me. Black voters this year have had 15% of their votes go to Donald Trump. And back in 2020, it was just 8% of the total votes that went to Donald Trump. That's a stark contrast, and that's a surge that Donald Trump has interestingly made among the black voters. Remember, during the campaign as well, throughout the campaign, in fact, Kamala Harris kept on evoking her Indian and African roots. But clearly that wasn't working out for them, because in the middle of the elections, when Obamas came in and Michelle and Barack Obama came in to voice their support for Kamala Harris, they had to urge the black male voters to go out and vote for Kamala Harris. They kept saying, you are supposed to get your first female president, and therefore we urge the black male voters to go ahead. Something that clearly hasn't worked out for Kamala Harris.
I'll have to interject over there, Shreya, and I'll come back to you as we're getting some breaking news at this point in time. The US media calls the election and Trump has officially been declared the winner. Trump wins Wisconsin. Trump cruises past 270 mark. A comfortable cruise for Donald Trump at that. And that is the big breaking news that we're getting you at this point in time. The US media has finally called the election and Trump has officially been declared the winner. Trump has won Wisconsin as well and has managed to go way past the 270 mark. Well, that is the big breaking news that we're getting you, and I'll come back to you, Shreya, on that front as well. The US media has finally called for the election, but the margin that we're talking about, as I had begun asking you about that, between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Now, that is something that even, like you were mentioning, the poll pundits also could not really expect that to be such a great margin is concerned. Now, of course, going forward, how is this going to have an impact as far as the India-US relations are concerned? Of course, Prime Minister Modi has extended a congratulatory wish to him, but going forward, he's only going to strengthen ties with the US. Take us through how it's going to impact India as a positioning vis-a-vis relations with US.
You know, Samya, this has been a question which has been a topic of great discussion and debate since these elections were announced, and it was understandably quite a concern here in India how the US elections will impact the India-US ties. But we can, I think, safely say, as far as the India-US relationship is concerned, it's not going to be deteriorating. It's not going to be having a negative impact of a Trump presidency. We will have stronger India-US ties. It is not just because of the kind of agreements that and memorandum of understanding in various fields that the two countries have, but it is also because of the kind of standing India has in the geopolitical game right now, with the two wars going on, within independent foreign policy that India has followed so far. That kind of standing not many countries in the world have, especially in this part of the world, considering the fact that the US also has a trade war going on with China. They have concerns with China. But in the past few years, the United States has been able to de-hyphenate its relationship with India and China and see them as separate entities. And with India, we are not going to see any strong negative impact. But yes, the concern right there is of tariffs. Remember, throughout the campaigning, Donald Trump has talked about how, Prime Minister Modi is a great man. He's also called him a fantastic man. But in the same breath, he's also said that India is the biggest abuser of tariffs. And that is where our concern lies, because when he assumes presidency, he's a businessman at the end of the day. He's going to see good business for his own country. And if that means increasing import tariffs for India, he's going to go ahead and do that, which is a cause of concern for, businesses and businessmen here in India. How that, moves forward, we'll have to wait and watch. But no large negative impact of a Trump presidency. We've seen that earlier. We will see that once again now. And we've seen the kind of friendship and bonhomie that Prime Minister Modi and now the 47th President of the United States have.
While we're talking about world leaders, we're getting some more breaking news at this point in time. As world leaders congratulate Donald Trump, Putin has decided to stand out as an exception. Kremlin has issued a statement saying that Putin will not congratulate Donald Trump. He said, and I quote, that he is going to go ahead and judge the presidency on concrete step. Well, that is a big breaking news that we're getting you at this point in time. As world leaders congratulate Donald Trump, Putin has decided to stand out as an exception. The Kremlin has issued a statement saying that Putin will not congratulate the US President-elect Donald Trump, but he's going to go ahead and judge the presidency on concrete steps. Well, this is an exception of sorts, like how Putin has decided that he's going to take a differential stand. He's going to judge the concrete step of presidency and then perhaps extend his congratulatory message. But having said that, I'll have to ask you one thing, Shreya, over here, is that the role that social media has played as far as Donald Trump victory is concerned and this entire US elections are concerned, because when the crowd did chant the name of Elon Musk, he says a star has been born today, and that is Elon Musk. Take us through the impact that perhaps social media has had on this election, how Elon Musk has managed to propel and perhaps project him already as a president even before the elections were through.
Before I answer a question, Samya, just to ponder upon how the Russian president has reacted to this entire Trump victory. Remember, he's chosen his words very, very carefully. He said he's not going to congratulate Donald Trump and that he will judge the presidency on concrete steps. This comes after allegations of Russian interference in the American past elections as well, when Donald Trump had won. So that is a very, very careful choosing of words when it comes to, Putin congratulating Donald Trump. How this really moves forward, we'll have to wait and watch. Donald Trump and the US presidency at that time had denied any Russian interference. Putin this time around not taking any chances and saying, you know what, we're going to wait and watch how you deal with the Russia-Ukraine war, because you're saying that you're going to stop the two wars. How you stop that war, how you become that mediator who's going to stop the war, what would be the terms and conditions?
Whether there's going to be any thaw in the relations or not?
Yes, we will have to wait and watch. But right now, Vladimir Putin being very, very careful in choosing his words when he is talking about this Donald Trump victory. Coming to your question, Samya, of social media and alternative media, of how that has played an important role in this US election. Remember, Donald Trump also called out a media house during his victory speech and said that, they vilified me, they put out narratives against me. And yesterday I was talking to one of the religious advisors of Donald Trump, somebody who works closely with him, Pastor Mark Burns, and he said, everything that you say about Donald Trump, everything that you see and hear about Donald Trump in American media is very, very one-sided. When you call him a racist, when you call him a misogynist, you can have your differences over that. You and I can have our opinions on that. Maybe Donald Trump has given reasons to call him that. Maybe he hasn't. But the fact of the matter is that traditional media, as we see it, newspapers and television in America, have been deeply and quite overtly divided in this election. And this time around, that is why Donald Trump chose to go ahead with social media. He went on with Elon Musk on X. He also went on the Joe Rogan podcast, something that broke records as well. So he used the social media handles to reach out to people. That perhaps has worked out very well for him. In stark contrast to Kamala Harris and her campaign strategy, who went on the traditional media of newspapers, of television, of entertainment shows, television news channels, giving out interviews. That perhaps has not worked because perhaps the viewer and the American voter has seen how blatantly divided and perhaps biased the American media was. And that is something that is also a cause of concern. Considering the fact that the media should play a constructive role. But so far as these US elections are concerned, social media and alternative platforms of media have really played an important role if we talk about the Donald Trump victory and their, contribution in taking further his message to the last voter in line.
Also, Shreya, of course, you're putting things into perspective for our viewers over here. But as far as Kamala Harris is concerned, what next now for her? Of course, she has decided that she is not going to hold any address today itself. Even the event was cancelled. We saw a lot of dejected and sad supporters of Kamala Harris walking out of that event. What can we expect for Kamala Harris from here on?
Well, ideally, Samia, Kamala Harris should have taken this chin up and should have actually technically, ideally addressed her supporters because they were the ones who were right there with her all through this campaigning. Yes, but at the last moment, just because you are being defeated by the other opponent, you choose not to address your supporters. Some people who've been there with you for months perhaps could be demotivating for her supporters. What now for her? Well, yes, the next Trump presidency is all set to be inaugurated once, all of that electoral college vote happens, and hopefully they will vote in the same direction as to Donald Trump. There are, there's also that possibility of people cross-voting, but that happens very rarely. And it's only a few of the people, but the majority of votes going to Donald Trump. Kamala Harris, well, Joe Biden is already out of race. Kamala Harris will perhaps go back to being an attorney or, just being the opposition, a strong opposition in the party. But clearly a lot of introspection that Kamala Harris would want to do after this election. She came in midway. She was somebody who broke records as far as the donors are concerned from within her party, which also raised questions as to, a Democratic Party being divided over Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And perhaps that is why the supporters of Kamala Harris got their way around and pulled back Joe Biden and put her forward as the candidate for the Blues. But clearly that hasn't worked out. That has actually been, a step that has been a shot in the foot as far as the Democrats are concerned. A lot of introspection is perhaps the next step, ideally, and talking to her supporters directly and thanking them for all the support that they've done in all of these months should be her next step.
Absolutely, Shreya. Thank you for joining us here and speaking to us about how there is going to be a way forward for Kamala Harris that may be restricted to just being an opposition voice and putting things into perspective as far as the US election results are concerned.